them. Oh, yeah. Mr. Wiggly, I acoustic, yo. Hey, step inside, I give thanks and the highest praise. Ground myself to my earth, connect out the space.
Hello and welcome. It's episode number 18. Oh, and I've got some background stuff going, so I'm going to kill that, see what happens.
Hello and
what an idiot. It's the
number
second time that this has happened.
Oh, and I've got some background
So
stuff.
let's wait till it
so
stops.
I'm going to kill that, see what happens. Hello and
what an idiot. It's
episode number
Oh.
time that this has happened.
I kind of hope that you guys aren't hearing this, but if you, I guess if you aren't hearing this, you're not actually wondering what the hell is going on here. 1 second. That's probably Facebook killing me at the moment. I've just got a lot of echo and disastrous stuff going on, and it's gone. Thank goodness for that. Sorry to be so disorganized in this crazy world of live streams. Let's start that again. Hello and welcome to the wonderful Mr. Wiggly, episode 18 of the Sunday live stream. Thank you so much for joining us. There is already a bunch of people in the chat. To which I will say hello to in a moment. If you are listening or watching again on the rewind, thank you so much. I very rarely say hello to you, but I know there's a lot of people who don't watch this live, partly because it's a ridiculous o'clock in half the world, and partly because Sunday evenings are just kind of sacred for a lot of people. So thank you very much for watching on the rewind. Thank you to everyone already in the chat, and apologies for wasting 2 minutes of your life at the beginning. Hello to Martin Taylor was in first. 34 minutes in advance of everyone else, so full props to Martin Taylor. Inky the chat is in the cat. Inky the cat is in the chat. She is our moderator, so be nice to Inky. I always say that. She will kick you out if you're rude or nasty to anyone, but she's basically never has to do that because everyone involved in this whole stream is always super nice to each other, and that's one of the wonderful things about it. So thank you very much for that. Hello, Juanito Moore, previous guest, Martin Taylor, Azio Head, some guy called Mr. Wiggly's posted in there. Tony Duncan, another previous guest. Thank you very much for joining. Synth Addict is in there. My word. Fat Dust Hex is in there. A really good mate of mine. He's a relatively new finder of the stream, I think, in the last few weeks. Sasquatch, hello. Cress Head, Corrosive Abuser, David Surchek, loads. I'll pick them all up again a little bit later. But thank you very, very much for joining, as I said before. We have one of us, I hope, as a guest today, Dustin Crisman, who is really, he's been in the music business for 20 years and he's done all sorts of stuff. One of the unsung heroes. So he's gone from currently making tracks actually with Roy Davis Jr., who's a kind of American house legend if you come across him. So in his 20-year kind of music industry, I don't think there's been that much released until more recently, but he's gone through the whole gamut of designing front ends, putting patches together. His main focus, I think, at the moment is live sound. He's run studios, all sorts of brilliant stuff. And it's just one of those kind of histories that is just full of fascinating little anecdotes and stories and of interest, I think, to people who want to get into any aspect of the industry. So without further ado, let's say hello to Dustin Crisman. Welcome indeed to the show, and thanks so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Was that a reasonable introduction? Did I cover most things, or are there more strings to your bow?
That was pretty much, yeah. I mean, I just never said no to an opportunity. So,
right.
You know, anytime someone threw something my way, I would take it. And, you know, that's done well for me. I've done video stuff too as well. So it's like, you know, it's been kind of all over the place, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. But
I don't know. You can do lots of things and be master of them too. Well, let's rewind because we purposefully didn't chat in detail offline about much of your background. I mean, we touched on things and then said, oh, no, let's not talk about that. Let's save that for the stream because they were so cool. But talk about how you got into it. And I think you were involved in the early days with kind of PCs, I think, back when probably people were using Ataris and early Macs and that kind of stuff, and getting involved in early chat rooms and stuff about dance music and so on. Do you want to take over from there?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd been like kind of screaming in friends' bands and things like that for a long time, and you know, through high school and whatnot. And in the late 90s, early 2000s, I got into like the early end of PC and Fruity Loops and the start of VST and whatnot, and was really active like in the forums and helped ran Floop Heads and Floop Head sessions on IRC back in the day. That was like all part of like an offshoot of Image Line's forums. And, you know, we did all that kind of stuff and did that for a few years, and then kind of got out of that and was making music on my own, and then, you know, it kind of went from there. But I was using all the early, you know, Turog and Moonfish and Amen Break Editor and Stomper and Hammerhead and all that stuff before, you know, when there was no VST, when everything you wanted to put into it, you know, you had to re-rendered out. So, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, most people don't even remember these, but like, do you remember the MDA free bundle of VSTs that came out, like the first?
Oh gosh, yeah, I hadn't until you mentioned it. Wow, yeah, that was a long time ago, wasn't it? Wow, yes.
I mean, that was the first piano that like I ever could get into a DAW. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was blown away. And you know, back then I didn't even have like a controller. I was just, you know, keyboard and mouse and everything.
Wow.
And because I don't really have much of a music background. I tried learning guitar and I played trumpet in grade school and that kind of thing. But, you know, I never really did well on an instrument. And then kind of got the tech side of it when, you know, I was always around PCs growing up, and it wasn't that hard or that big of a jump, and kind of fell into it.
That was kind of hard work, because I remember I was using Ataris back in the kind of pop days of the 90s, and Macs had just about sort of come into the mainstream and to be sort of affordable, but PCs were hard work, because I remember going to see sort of mates of mine who were into the PC, not necessarily back into the music, but you know, they'd be telling me about their sound blasters and having to set up all the interrupts and the I can't even remember.
I had a 386 DX with a Sound Blaster 16, and I thought I was king of the hill, like
rocking it. Yeah.
And I was just messing around with their like little like wave editor, and you know what I mean? I wasn't even doing music, I was just playing around, but
yeah,
it was a nightmare.
I'm kind of glad you said that. I know, because at one stage we wrote some software for Akai to transfer samples in and out of the S1000s and 2000s and 3000s into over SCSI, and there was a Mac version. It was called Meza, and I can't remember what that stood for, but it was basically chucking your samples backwards and forwards. And we had to do the PC version, because I had a little company that was writing software because of the connections. They said, "Oh, can you do this?" And it was an utter nightmare. It was an absolute just writing SCSI drivers to pull these sounds in. Yeah, absolutely. And it's so much nicer now with their, you know, their I'm not saying I've written that much stuff for Windows, but making the incinerator plugin that I've got work on Windows is much easier. Do you know what I mean? You can
cross-platform stuff. The cross-platform libraries have changed a lot. I know that back when I was, you know, doing a lot of sound design, we used to use a program called Translator.
Okay.
In systems, and I know. Well, I used to know the guy who ran that real well. I used to have to talk to him all the time, because we would be, you know, going from one format to another to get into, you know, whatever piece of hardware or software, and you know, constantly have to tweak and things, because you know, so many parameters don't translate, and anytime you're dealing with cross-platform, whether it be from hardware or, you know, Mac computer or even PC, like trying to get things compatible, you know, even 10 years ago, 15 years ago was
well, I think it still can be, but well, you sent me very kindly some Ableton presets that you were working on, and can I make them work? It's like, you know, I know what I'm doing, but it just says this preset is broken. Thank you for that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, I don't get, you know, I just saved it as a normal preset in the browser, dragged it in, emailed it over, and like, you know, why isn't that a thing that just works?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But hell, you know, we do have Life Easy. We've got like automatic time stretch and stuff, which would never have even been heard of back then. So what was the crew like back then? You were mentioning you were in some chat rooms and bits and pieces like that. Who were the early adopters of the PC alongside you back in the day?
I mean, I remember you were talking about last week, Steve Duda, like he came in and did a lesson on compression and things like that, because they were all active in the forum.
Right.
We had a Deadmau5 was.
And what forum was this back then? This was a PC specific music one.
This was FL Studios forum.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, right,
Yeah.
right, of course.
So we just created an IRC because, we got tired of waiting for messages, So, and we were just at our computers. I mean, all of us were. I mean, me and Deadmau5 are like basically the same age. So,
right.
like, we were, 18-year-old kids with nothing to do and except make music and sit in front of our computers. So, like. That was a crazy story. Like I remember how he got the Deadmau5 with the 5, like, because he came in and there was a whole story about how he actually found a Deadmau5 in his computer. He just told it on his live stream. But he came in, his nickname for a while was the Deadmau5 guy, but then we switched servers and they had an 8-character limit.
Oh man. So that's how it came up.
Yeah. So and that was like back when, just when he had gotten like on Section Z Records, which I think is still kind of around, small, out of Detroit or out of Chicago, I think.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. So you got Steve Duda, who, in case anyone in the chat doesn't know, then he's the guy behind Serum, and he works closely with Deadmau5, and obviously Serum is like a Deadmau5 stalwart piece of kit that's being used. But obviously they're two amazing artists in their own right, so they're all busy chatting in the FL studio.
I mean,
brilliant.
I actually almost moved in with Steve Duda at one point. He was looking for a roommate, and he was just talking. We were talking with a group of us about like his upcoming thing in the chat room, and like he had mentioned that he was, going to be renting one of his rooms out. And this is like back when he was working with Avid and that kind of thing, back in 98, 99, 2000. And so, I mean, like me and a buddy from Alaska were going to try to pull together and move to LA. And
wow. And the rest is history, or could have been. Crikey.
Well, it could have been. Yeah. I mean, it didn't end up happening like a lot of things, but like it was still, I ended up, knowing JMC and Goal and Reflex from the FL Studio team pretty well back then. And, it was a tight group of people. It's not like now where, I mean, there's a lot more people into making music than there was. It's a lot more accessible now, which is a great thing, and we have great tools because of it. But it was the Wild Wild West back then, and it was a very, very small crowd, especially in the SeaWorld.
Totally. Wow. I've just seen, completely switching to, I've just seen in the chat that Lee Scratch Perry's passed away, which is tragic. Yeah. What a tragic thing. I saw him literally, the last time he was in the UK. It was amazing. And he was elderly, but he was right in the middle of building a new store. What a loss. That is.
He just did a show here before COVID.
Right.
And, I actually missed it, but a couple of my friends worked that show, and I have a CD from it. It's amazing.
I'm a real new convert to dub, actually. Well, I say new in the last kind of sort of 5 or 6 years, to be honest. And a lot of the stuff I've been doing here has just been inspired by those guys, just sort of turning up aux sends and building spring reverbs and stuff like that and getting that sound. That is so sad. I mean, what truly eccentric, amazing, original.
Well, there's so many stories that have been attributed to him and whatnot. I mean, in things that we do now with, Space Echoes and whatnot, that they were just doing with reel-to-reels and making stuff up as they went. It was amazing. Like if there's a biography or documentary on him, I think it's on Netflix or something like that, but it was amazing.
Yes, it is. Is it Netflix? There's something on YouTube as well, I think. But it's an hour and a half or so long.
Yeah,
all the way showing his house. I mean, just utterly amazing. That is so sad. The whole chat. We should have turned this into a. We'll do a Lee Scratch Perry show. I think if you fancy coming on, we can talk about Lee Scratch Perry all evening for another stream, because his they totally broke the mold. Amazing.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. That's
wow. So, 85 years old, but okay. Anyway, utterly devastating news. That we lost someone from the Clown Army as well this week, which is absolutely a terrible situation. Which there'll be, I'm sure there'll be some more of the Clown Fest, which is it's not a good week for artists. I think this week. Very, very
no,
sad.
it's been a rough few years for artists.
Yeah.
It's and especially like the stuff we were listening to back then, and where they are now. It's going to start happening for a lot of my idols, and it's.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's that at that age you get when you start going to a lot more funerals and weddings is certainly upon us, I think. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, let's lift it back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So, in terms of your things, there's a website and an Instagram thing. So first of all, let's get those things out there. So, your Insta is Left Is Not Right Music. So everyone who's watching this, you can go and check out Left Is Not Right Music. There's a bunch of good stuff on there. And the website, because your kind of artist name is Left, right?
Right,
so
yeah.
The website is called Is Not Right. And that looks like this, which is where you get kind of this soupçon of various bits and pieces that you've done over the years, which is just fascinating. And like I said in the intro, the latest thing is this, I'm guessing house, is it deep house style release that you've been putting together with Roy Davis?
Well, yeah. See, okay. So, what's working on right now is I have a project. I started with a student of mine who had an amazing voice, and it went from teaching things to making music.
Right.
So we have this project called Declares. I'm not sure what label it's going to be coming out on yet. It might be coming out on my label, which is Unconventional Materials, or it might be on a different label. We're still working on finishing the last couple songs for the EP. But this first song has turned out amazing, and you can check my Instagram. There's a little preview on there of that.
So how did that hook up kind of come around? And yes, please do sign up on Instagram for Left Is Not Right Music to keep in touch with all of this stuff. But how did that kick off?
Well, with Roy, it was really random. I was teaching at Guitar Center, and a colleague of mine was working one day and met Roy's brother, and they got talking, and they're like, "Oh, well, you have to meet Roy." And I'm like,
Wow.
My colleague tells me this, so a couple weeks later, I'm in Roy's dining room with my rig, which was in 2 guitar cases at the time, and set up, like showing them it's like 2 USB cables and a power cable, and like my system's running, and just started working with him, doing
Oh, fantastic.
worked on a couple tracks with him.
Wow. I mean, again, in the chat, if people aren't aware, Roy Davis I think he had a massive tune in the late 90s called Gabrielle, which was just a dance monster. And I think it was, to describe it as deep house, right? It's one of those lovely sounding, I get muddled up sometimes with genres, particularly in the early days, but it was one of those really lovely, deep, kind of organic sounding, simplistic, but lovely sounding tracks that I think even charted over here in the UK, probably in the US as well. It actually crossed over massively into the mainstream, and then he's been around kind of ever since. I think he's worked with Mary J. Blige, Seal, loads of people, right?
Everybody, I can't even keep track of it. It's like I'll see him, I'll be over at the studio or whatever, and it'll be this track with this person or this remix or that remix, and it's like it's I don't even you can't even it's not that it's so amazing, and it happens so much,
right?
It kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can absolutely imagine.
He just messaged me right now.
Oh, really? That is calm. Is he watching?
He asked me to send him the link.
Fantastic.
So let me turn that for him, and
yeah, carry on. You do that, and I'll talk to the chat for a second. That is super cool, actually. Let's get Roy in here. Anyone in the chat that's got any questions going on? I mean, it's a very, very broad brush, this kind of chat, just because of the amount of different stuff that that Dustin's been involved with. So I mean, we'll talk. We've gone from right at the beginning, being in a chat room with Deadmau5 and Duda, and then we've now releasing tunes with Roy Davis. But in the middle of that, there's kind of his studio, sound design, the training and teaching that he's just touched on, and the live sound stuff, which I think is really interesting, because we've not really talked to anyone so far that's been involved on the live sound of things. So is there a very brief summary of how you get from A to B in this?
No.
I kind of thought you might say that.
There isn't. Well, it's kind of there is a little bit how I got to live sound, which I've been doing a lot of for like the last few years.
Okay.
But it all starts out with my first job in the industry. So I had been living on my friend's couch for a while and didn't know what I was going to do. And a company said they were looking for an intern. And I called them up and we talked, and they're like, well, you know too much to be an intern. So I ended up working for Sonic Reality. And we were back in a little industrial plaza back in South Florida, and IK was a couple doors down in their little tiny office. And a good friend of mine that worked for IK, he had a band, and I used to go over, help him set up and whatnot. And went to one show one night, and their sound guy, who we kind of knew because we were going to record in their studio and that kind of thing. But their sound guy was like, oh yeah, well, you know what you're doing. Here's a mixer. I never live sound. And 5 minutes in, he's like, oh yeah, there's the mic, and that's that. And it was a basic setup, like a little bar show, you know, like we just had vocal mics and I think a snare and kick mic, you know.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, here. And walked away. Didn't see him again all night.
Oh my word! So that's really dropped him straight in at the deep end, right?
Oh yeah!
What a mess.
Yeah,
I'd suggest it might not have been a mess. Did it sound best sound they'd ever had? I guess, right?
Well, we got actually an amazing live recording out of it. Because there was an extra mic that had been sitting on stage that actually like kind of picked up the bass and the drums, and I had my laptop hooked up and had a stereo pair off the mixer, and we just took that and like tracked it out to where, you know, I EQ'd out like 4 tracks and then just blended them in, and it ended up sounding decent. It was a great like live recording, but we had a couple little squeals. I mean, I'm not
And so have you basically just kind of continued that and just got more and more sought after or into it? I mean, are you kind of running as a one-man band, or are you freelancing? Or?
I'm freelancing with a bunch of crews now. I've worked with a bunch of like kind of smaller and medium-sized production crews in Florida. Done a lot of work for various cities and towns and their little festivals and things like that. You know, done a lot of monitoring engineering. Just that's a whole different world. Done some front of house for a couple smaller venues, and was the chief sound guy at a club for a while. And
wow, I mean, I wouldn't know where to start. Do you tend to work in places that you know now, or are you literally I turn up at a new place and have to kind of work it out from scratch?
It depends. I mean, I get thrown new stuff all the time that, you know, is new gear, new setups, but I've been working with the same crews now for 5-6 years.
Right.
So it's the same gear, it's the same X32s with the same lights out, the same, you know, bad input, the same.
Oh, those are Behringer X32s, right? With the remote control. I've seen a lot of people use those things actually. That's just you can walk around with an iPad and just adjust everything, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, even if we use an iPad in some cases, like when we don't have proper front of house or we don't have proper a monitor. But a lot of times we're running 2 consoles, so we're running a front of house and, you know, side of stage for monitors.
Yeah.
And it's just run digital, and we're just using the consoles because it's faster.
Right.
You know, when we have 3 bands, an opening act, and, you know, DJ and you know, a 6-pack of wireless and that kind of thing, it's iPad's real slow to work with. Now for a bar show, yeah, it's great. You know.
Gotcha.
I did.
Yes.
What was it? 15 or 16 bands in one day with an X-Air 18.
Wow. Man, how do you?
It's 2 stages and limited inputs on the second stage, but yeah.
Slept well that day, right?
Oh, yeah, that was all day long. It was like a Halloween show or something, and it was.
Whoa, that is stunning. Okay, right. Well, there's a few questions coming in, which was, where are you to start with?
Florida.
So,
I'm a couple hours north of Miami, and basically South Florida, which we're a couple hours from anything. So I've worked all over the state down here. So.
And is the live music scene over there beginning to flourish again, or is it?
It was starting to. Things were starting to pick back up, and then now with the, recent concern.
So how is it over there? Because we're in the UK, we're kind of open again, and everyone's a bit concerned, but they're kind of carrying on.
We're open, but the cities and whatnot aren't booking. So for me and a lot of the crews I work with, they're holding back on some of the festivals. They're waiting to see. They're, so,
right.
There's a few bar shows happening and smaller stuff like that, but the crowds aren't the same. So it's not, there's not the money to put into, bringing in whole kit, for that kind of stuff in a lot of cases.
That's interesting. I mean, I know a couple of managers here who manage like super big acts, the stadium type of acts, and they obviously cancelled 2020 and 2021. And they weren't even thinking, 18 months ago, they weren't even thinking before next summer. And I don't even know whether that's still an option. And it was all based on insurance. They couldn't get insurance against the tour being cancelled and losing all the booking.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was the only thing that was stopping it. No one was prepared to underwrite the cost. And we're talking like the massive, proper. And I don't think I would. It's, do you know what I mean? But it's difficult. It's so hard.
Well, even just for the DJs, I know it's been ridiculous. From some of the DJs that were still going to tour that I've known that couldn't get hotels because they were shutting down, even if venues were open, and so it's been hard for like kind of everybody, and especially like crews. Like I've worked with. There's probably 100 of us that kind of work South Florida in that medium to small kind of size,
Yeah.
And all of us have been, scrapping, trying to get work and that kind of thing. Cause, that's for a lot of us, our primary income, we don't have side jobs.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Because you have to be available, and if you want to be in this industry, goes back to like kind of how I've done so many different things is never said no, and if you don't know something, you don't oversell it, but chances are you have a phone, you have Google, it's not that hard. If you've done things before that led up to it, you can learn, especially if you got people, you're working with, and it's a challenge, but every day is something new too.
100%. That's a wonderful thing to say. If the privilege of working in the music industry, in some sense, is what kept me going, keeps a lot of us going. The idea that it doesn't matter. I always wanted to be a pop star originally, and there was no way on earth I had the talent or whatever you need, whatever factor it is. To get there. And I realized that when I was quite young. I was like so bummed. I was like, what am I going to do? That's my whole life over, at the age of 17 or whatever it is. And then I thought, well, no, hang on. I'll just work with other people. Do you know what I mean? Let's go and I can play my keyboards with someone else, or I can get out there and, and that's been writing music software or playing live with guys over here or writing songs or whatever. And it's such a privilege to be able to do it and make enough income from
exactly
to survive.
I did graphic design and web design stuff for a long time to supporting other artists. I've worked, I've done commercial stuff too, and whatever, but I've kind of been on, like I remember doing a flyer for a stunt team that was amazing. Like, these guys were off jumping on buildings and setting themselves on fire, and I got to do. They did this was up in Orlando, Florida, and did a theater show with them and did sound for them, and got to learn some stuff, and jumped off a roof, and it was
That's fantastic.
just never saying no.
Quite.
You know?
Absolutely. I've had another question up for a while because but we got well into that one, which is great. But are you doing any presets for synths?
I have a couple for the Novation circuit on my website. We talk, there's going to be some Ableton stuff coming up. Some drum synths based in operator and macros.
Perfect. So let's get that.
Yeah.
That website back up again. Head on over to there. The website looks like this, and pretty much everything is on there. If it's not obvious, if you go to mrwiggly.co.uk/live, all the links to this and all the other shows that we've had on are on there, and Dustin's links will be right at the top in bold. So there's a link to his Instagram, and there is a link to all of these, so it's kind of a central place where you can go. It's linked, I think, off the Mr. Wiggly channel. While I'm talking about that, if you could give this video a like, that would be super cool. I think there's quite a lot of people watching who haven't hit that like button. It's just good for the old algorithms and all that kind of stuff, which is great. But it's really, really good to see so many people on board here. It was fantastic. It's a really good interview as well. It's very, very exciting. So you've got the presets that you've done, so yet another string to your bow. And then there was another question following that, which was from the appropriately named Synth Addict, who'd like to know all about your synths. Can you comment on the gear and faves in the show? These are let's tick them off. TD3, TB03, Microkorg, Minilogue, MC909, VT3, Model D, and a lot of pedals.
Yes. So what you don't see is the Ableton rig with push 2, the Akai Force, MIDI Fighter 3D, MIDI Fighter Twister, a bunch of other controllers, the Synths Morph and whatnot. There's a Korg Volca drum that's on loan. The Volca bass. What other synths? Oh, did he get the MC606?
I don't think he did, but he did very well, so we will forgive him that one.
Yeah, the Microkorg was the first synth I ever actually bought. And it gets a lot of criticism, but it's actually rather amazing for what it is. And then, the first analog thing was the Korg Volca. When that came out, I was working at Guitar Center.
Wow.
And I just was like, wait a minute, I can own an analog synth for $100. Like, all right.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I bought a Microkorg, and I kind of dropped out of music for a little bit. So I had all this stuff that I bought in the 80s and 90s, which then I put it into storage, did some bunch of other stuff, came back out, and suddenly realized that all this stuff I'd kept in storage was worth a fortune as well. Because it just been sitting there. Like, what's going on? Then found Gear Space, or Gear Sluts or whatever, and then I bought a Microkorg as well, and I bought one of those little yellow mofos, and then I was off again. I started doing work in music again, and that was it. But yeah, they're cool, really, really good. So are you making a combination of live jams and Ableton in your productions? How does that actually work?
Well, I mean, when I'm in the studio, I kind of work in a live way, but most of the stuff that I've been releasing, like I released an EP here a year and a half ago. It's on everything. It's on the website. Just check it out.
Mm-hmm.
But like when I released that was like, it stemmed from me just doing things live. I like to work kind of in the moment and just, let something go for 3 hours in here and just never hit stop. But then it gets pared down and, re-recorded and whatever else.
Right.
So, I mean, I'd love to be able to work totally live. And that was the goal with the original setup. Like the way I have everything's in arm's reach. Everything's always turned on. Everything will always make a noise. Everything's always perpetually hooked up and routed. Some of the pedals I patch in and out or whatever. But so I mean, I'd love to do everything live, but technically it's just not possible.
Yeah.
This much gear. There's too many issues.
I mean, hybrid like that is works really nicely. I think if you can, for me, if I'm recording into Logic or Ableton, as long as I'm twisting something whilst the part is going down, particularly if it's kind of dance-oriented stuff. So rather than have the chord and the filter going, I want to be wiggling something, for want of a better word. Do you know what I mean? I just want it to move. And that also forces me to kind of record it rather than just store the MIDI, and forces you to make decisions and stuff. So you've got the best of all worlds kind of up there. David Sochek was saying, how are you liking the Force? Because it's recently... Oh, no, it hasn't recently had an update, though, has it? Everything
no, it's going to, and I'm waiting desperately because that's going to change in
absolutely.
Here. The Force is absolutely amazing as long as you treat it for what it is. You know, there's limitations. There's things it's great at. There's things it's not so great at. It's my MIDI brain at this point, just because I can just save all my synths as, you know, a preset and just, you know, load it up and then, you know, record that directly in Ableton. Or I got this actually a year ago or more or whatever. But this is old Roland M480 48 channel.
Okay, so that answers I Sing the Body Electric's question, which is that nice black mixer thing behind Dustin. So that's that like a line mixer from Roland, you say, right?
Yeah. It, you know, rack, you know, 6U high rack, and it came out in like, what was it, like 98 or 2002.
Yeah.
They only made a few of them. This is one of two I found for sale. But there's nothing else that's 48 channels in that small a space. And it's the way it subs out. Like, I always have a stereo pair that I can just hit a button and it automatically sends it to my interface or to Force for sampling whatever it is. So I literally, like, oh, my, you know, 303 is going, I hit the button over there and it's automatically sent, and I can just record.
No, that's super
doing
cool.
More than one thing.
Vaguely remember them coming. They were kind of designed as keyboard submixes as well.
Rack, you know, you have the rack synths and you know, sound canvases and whatnot in a rack. You need something.
Really good. Really good. Hello to Jonathan Arcross. Thanks for joining. And Cress Head and Sasquatch and Callum and Ray Malone. Lovely to see you in there from Canada. Thank you for that. Pierre the Acid Clown is busy recovering from the dreaded disease. Well, I'm glad to say. That says Hail Hydra. I am just thinking that he should probably talk to you about coming and doing a set on Clownfest. I mean, I'm obviously not in a position to book you for Clownfest, but I'm sure he'd be interested in getting you on there, because it sounds like you'd be absolutely perfect for that. Have you done much live streaming gig style stuff?
I've done a couple on my own. You know, when the dreaded thing hit, I was going to go into doing a lot more, but you know, like I said, like trying to create all of this into a live set, but you know, piecing together you know, an acid set or whatever, because that's what the EP is. The new stuff is more deep house, but the EP was more acid house break kind of stuff. Much different and harder, and you know, more 303. And but I fell in love with the 303 before I even knew what a 303 was. You'll remember this, but do you remember the original TS404 software before it got included in FL Studio?
Yeah. Yeah. Shall we move on? Oh man, I remember demoing the 303s at a Saturday job in the London Rock Shop, which was a UK synth shop. There weren't that many around, and I've said this before many times. I'm sure I joined to try and get cost price on synths and stuff. And we honestly used to draw lots as to who was going to demo it. It was such a piece of rubbish, and it was hard to code. I mean, looking back, it's really easy to use. I mean, we were really harsh, but when you're sitting in a shop with 4 or 5 other people, all of you kind of don't really want to be working in the shop. You want to be playing in some super big band or something. Who wants to demo this little silver thing that pretends to be a bass player, and it's a bit confusing?
Well, that's like, I wouldn't ever want to have someone sitting next to me when I tried to mess around with the 505.
Right.
Oh my Lord. You know, compared to having Ableton in front of you or even Force and a touch screen, you know, it's just, and where I grew up, we didn't have a synth shop. I mean, there wasn't even a guitar shop within 50 miles. And so I didn't even know what these things were until I was 19 years old and had internet fast enough to download the whole picture.
Oh right, yeah. Oh no, it was a trip for me. My dad used to take me in, or my mum used to take me into London, and I'd go and look at these things that you can possibly afford. You know, it was almost like a day out at the zoo, just looking. And then eventually, you know, it kind of came together. But this was the time when Juno 6 Monopoly SH101 had started to come out, and it moved away from the JX8Ps, which the kind of more than $2,000 kind of possibly touch one of those. They broke the sort of £1,000 barrier quite significantly in the UK, so there's sort of probably $2,000 mark, and it became almost affordable, you know, which is kind of what got me into playing. But
you know, we were talking about, like, I mean, with like Roy and the start of house and the start of acid house in Chicago and Detroit techno and whatnot. I mean, the only reason that ever started is because, you know, the 808s and 909s and the 303s were in the pawn shops.
Yeah, exactly that. Absolutely. And
you know, it's what they had.
You have to wonder what's going to be the pawn shops of tomorrow, don't you? I did sort of mention that the Akai Timberwolf, which I've never used, is apparently so bad it has to be a future classic. But you know, so
I don't think they made that many of them. I don't honestly think there's that many in the wild. You know?
Okay.
I think they're, you know, every major, you know, Guitar Center or whatever had one or two in stock,
right?
But they just didn't, you know. There might be a warehouse full of them somewhere. But.
Well, you never know. It's. I was accused of trying to want to sell one on eBay to kind of get the price up, but it would be really interesting to know, because also there are some vintage synths out there that are charging a lot for, which I absolutely know back in the day were rubbish and remain rubbish to this day.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
But because they've got an analog circuit in them and they're old, clearly they must be amazing, you know. And there are obviously some fabulous ones as well, which I loved back then and I've always loved. But yeah, it's
the same with digital gear. I mean, look at like what the Proteus cards run, or like the old Roland sound canvases or Adderall like PC boxes. They've gone up in price too.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I've been looking to get an old boombox, just because I wanted to make a little pair of, use it as some monitor speakers, and pair up I've got SP 404. Yeah, but and it just felt right to be doing some beats in this thing coming out of a boombox. God, the prices of those things are crazy now.
Oh yeah,
you know?
yeah. No,
I mean,
you can't touch them.
I didn't really need a working boombox, but I just needed the amp and the speakers bit to be working. So I managed to find one that was a sensible price. But man, if they've ever been featured on the front of a hip hop album, it's 300, 400, 500 pound, and then thousands if you want a mint quality one that, you know.
Yeah, whatever. Incredible. I forget the brand there. The
exactly.
One. Yeah, it's $3,000.
Crazy.
Beat one.
Will the pawn shops have Behringer sections? I think we should move on that from Paul Artola.
No, they don't.
Juanito's saying, have you come across Juanito Moore, Tin Can Synth Man? He makes modular kit out of in round metal boxes, like tin cans. He was a very early guest on this show, probably around about 8 or 9 episodes back. You've got to check him out. He's the nicest man in the world, and he's an absolute genius. And his modular kit is all homemade in these round tins, and he's got 303 replicas in there. Just an amazing guy. And it's like the funniest thing was, because if you can imagine, it's quite hard to rack things that are round.
Yeah.
It's almost like racking bottles of wine, you know. And it's like, why did you make them round? It's like, well, we had a round one and it kicked off from there. I wish I'd had a square one back then. Quite incredible. Yeah, just you'll see it when you look back at this. Click on Juanito Moore in the chat and go follow it. It's absolutely amazing. Also, Pierre the Acid Clown has said he'll hit you up with a message to get on the next Clown Fest, which would be just brilliant. And anyone who hasn't followed Clown Fest, do check it out. You can just Google Clown Fest, to be honest, and I think it'll take you to a website that will link the Facebook groups. But it's I think it's becoming a 6-day extravaganza over Christmas, which will be the next one. And there's always a good chance that the next one will be in a real field rather than be on an online space. So we will find out. But Pierre the Acid Clown in the chat now is the guy who knows all about that. So yeah, check it out and please do follow it. So it was epic this time. What else is going on? Cresshead says he sold his TB303 for 50 quid in the early 80s. Was hoping it would be like an SH09 with a sequencer. It wasn't. Yeah, I'm sure you're not the only one. I'm really sure.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like the SH101, you know, really easy to put little sequences in it and wiggle it. Yeah, it's it's absolutely crazy. 7 days of Clownfest at Christmas.
Whoa.
Crikey. Oh, yeah,
Wow.
there's some space. Can I ask you about the front end? Did you say you did some? Oh yeah, design and front end at the bottom. What was that? What was that?
Well,
work?
early on, I mean, it's some of the stuff I can't talk about because it was never released and whatever.
Sure, no problem.
But I did a lot of what was it, synth edit, and there was another kind of front ends for like some free plugins back in the day, stuff that doesn't even exist on the archive anymore. That 9 people played with. I did a bunch of that. I did a lot of website stuff and like front end web stuff. The original Patch Arena, which went up and came back down, patcharena.com. I actually think that's the logo I did that's still up there today.
Oh wow, nice.
2001, 2000.
Cool.
So I mean, I could never get the syntax to like learn C or another program, but I picked up HTML and CSS pretty quick, and a little bit of PHP and JavaScript, and enough to get by. And so I, like I said, I was doing a lot of graphic design. I mean, it kind of came back in the days of the chat rooms. In order to share any music that we were, kind of pushing between each other, you either had to wait for an IRC transfer, which was notoriously unreliable, or you had to have FTP or a website someone could go to. And so I had a GeoCity site I used to upload all my MP3s to. Right. And, I got tired of their editor and learned HTML and started putting that all together. And it kind of went from there. So I've always in between doing live sound or doing sound design for whoever or whatever, I've done those graphics.
Just amazing. Acid Band's asking, do you do any mentoring? Sounds like a really good idea, actually.
I do. I've taught at Guitar Center for multiple years. I've had multiple students. This latest project is with one of my old students who turned into a co-contributor and partner in music. And then, I've mentored quite a few people and they've gone on do interesting things. A colleague of mine who was a student and a fellow employee at Guitar Center now is working for Bon Jovi Acoustics and research and development and for all kinds of DSP stuff. So
that's brilliant. Well, check out isnotright.com or hit Dustin up at Left Is Not Right Music. Left Is Not Right Music on Instagram for that. That's really cool. Loullamae is in the building.
Hello.
So it must be time for the epic quiz. I don't know if it will beat the life-changing moment where I had Charlie Clouser from 9 Inch Nails, Loullamae asking him to give a name to her cuddly pet elephant, which is just a moment. And thank you so much again to Charlie for coming on, because that was a really good show.
Amazing.
And, but obviously they're all good. Obviously, they're not in comparison to this. This has been super interesting as well. But just a moment of hilarity more than anything. Right. Oh, yeah. Now, just before we flip into that, there was a huge... Oh, yeah. Martin Taylor said, I sold a Fender Rhinestone Strat for £50 and now it's worth $20,000.
Oh.
Man.
Oh.
I mean, we do moan about the price of synths, but yeah, guitars.
Oh, I know. My dad had an old Gibson Melody Maker before they had the Les Paul Browning. It was like a 64. And I forget what he sold that for. But
right. Wow. And he bought it at Sony Soundhouse, which was the other big music store, for 250 quid. Man.
Wow.
Oh, gosh. Oh,
wow.
Okay. All right. Prepare yourself. Eyes down. We're about to kick off into... All right, so we have the first question.
Put the chat on.
I need to do that first and then this.
What type of crisps did I eat when I was fishing?
Okay, so this is open to members of the chat, obviously. And we know that there's a bit of a delay between the questions coming up and the chat appearing. If you've not witnessed this quiz before, well, where have you been, basically? It's kind of obvious how it all works. So, yes, what type of crisps did Loullamae eat when we went fishing? And we went fishing on Friday, didn't we? So 2 days ago. Any thoughts?
Some Inky said cheese and onion.
Any thoughts, Dustin?
We're
kind of after the brand like kettle chips from Acid Bone. It's not correct, but and there'll be a bonus question for the flavour.
Oh. So I don't know what brands you have over there.
Oh, they're chips over here.
Yeah. But I don't know what.
Yeah, no, that's hard because it's in America. You know, Americans call crisps chips, and chips are called fries.
Yeah.
All right, so checking the chat. Yeah, we might have to let you off that one. Kettle chips, sour cream and onion. Walker's, no. Seabrooks, champagne and caviar, says Icing the Body Electric. Smith's, Walker's, Boots. Well, that's pretty cool for Americans to come up with Boots. Didn't eat any crisps. Native VS knows now just to say it never happened on every single show, right? Ask him the flavour. No, you can't ask me the flavour. That's the second question. Monster Munch. Now we're getting closer. We are getting closer.
Close.
Doritos, Sensation, Korg, Aldi, Pringles. Korg should do. What's It's definitely getting closer. We had
like what's it there as well.
We did, but we didn't eat them.
No.
We should have the music on for the quiz, really. Come on. Okay, we're going to close it down pretty soon. I'll let you call it, Loullamae, whenever you're ready.
Wheat crunchies.
Okay, so for the bonus question.
What flavour were they?
Now, you must have flavours in the US there, Dustin, so it's got to be worth it. Incidentally, 3.5 is the record here. Say again, salt and vinegar, did you say?
Yeah.
No. I forgot what it was. Someone's got it. Someone's got it. It's whizzed past. I mean, that counts, doesn't it, really? Sasquatch has got it. Oh, Piero said bacon first. Let's just go through. No, Acid Burn said bacon before him. My God, the chat is going so fast. Hula hoops. Okay, so Acid Burn was first, closely followed.
It was crispy bacon.
It was crispy bacon, but I think bacon's kind of close enough. Closely followed by Piero. My word. Okay, so unfortunately, that's a point for Acid Burn with a particularly fetching name. Do we know if Roy's joined us? He's probably gone, what on earth is this
going on? Yeah.
I came here to find out about the release of my next tune, and you're asking about crisps. Great track, Crispy Bacon. Hey, Adamski, thank you very much for joining, Adamski A. If you missed Adamski A's amazing show... it's a joke one, is it, next? Then please check it out. It was on one with Jamie Morden in the week. Jamie Morden's synth show in the week, showing off the most amazing synths that he's made, literally from perf board up to kind of these things. And they sound amazing. They sound really, really good. So please do check them out. It'd be lovely to get you on here at some stage. Adamski, if you do fancy it, that would be cool. Right, are we ready for... Hang on a minute. Let me just whiz over to here. Okay.
What sound does a witch's car make?
I feel like I've heard this one too. Maybe. Wow. All right.
Oh, Sasquatch is in there.
Wow.
Brum, brum. For those of you listening on podcast rather than watching the screen, we should really tell you it makes a brum brum noise.
Now I have a new joke for my kids.
Yeah, a lot of people. Apparently, lots of people have got that. Maybe it's not such a uncommon dad joke. Oh, Icing the Body Electric said it. Hang on. See, the trouble with Brum Brum in the chat is that, yes, you did. We see it in a slightly different order than some people post it. So Icing the Body Electric, you might have seen yourself first. Unfortunately, we can only see the way it comes in on here. You probably hit it at the same time. But YouTube is pretty rubbish at doing quizzes if you get serious about it. Hence, we don't take this one too seriously. But you can have first equal. I'm sure you hit it. Now, Sasquatch is always doing good at these quizzes, to be honest. So point for him, and we'll give you half a point for Icing. Thank you.
How
very much.
many sausages did I barbecue yesterday?
6.
There's a big barbecue. I mean, probably not in US standards,
Yeah.
but there was quite a few people.
24.
That's right. Yes, that's absolutely right.
Wow, yes. All right.
24. Excellent. So you're up to 1 point. This is amazing. All right. So you're in with a chance of coming top. You only need to get to 3.5, as I ask you in every time. 3 will get you onto the top of the leaderboard. So
3 or 3.5.
right. So here we go.
What's the best ice lolly?
Lime or lemon lime.
Lemon and lime. Wow, Dustin, pressure off. Blimey, that was a big Barbie. Yes, we did have a barbecue in that one. We got in. We had it inside. We managed to cook it just before the rain started tipping down. Paul got it, did he? Oh, okay. So Paul got it in the chat. That's cool. We'll give you a point. Paul Artola. Yes, Paul Artola did get it indeed with 24. Anyway, I'll give you a point in the chat, Paul. Thank you for that. And what's the best ice lolly? I can tell you it's not lemon and lime. You can have another guess, though, because you are the guest.
Strawberry?
No.
That'll be a good one, but no.
So, oh yeah, this is kind of hard. I guess you've probably got them in the US.
Yeah.
A giant dog lolly, rocket, watermelon, grape, orange, strawberry, a frozen one, cola, tangled twister, cola, wasabi, cider, grape, bubble gum. Cider lolly. That's great. I don't
know about that one.
Definitely have one of those. Vanilla. I don't seem to make many vanilla lollies. Cola, tequila. A lolly gobble choc bomb. That's a great name. Chili. Magnum Ruby, man, Boone, is the closest. It's not quite. Paul, yes, indeed. Well done. He says, oh my God, I'm so honoured. Well done indeed for getting that one. It is a Magnum something.
Or a something magnum.
It's a something Magnum, yeah. I mean, Magnum Mint, no.
I don't like mint.
Magnum
I think I know what
Almond.
you're talking about.
Oh, it's
Billionaire.
pretty much a bacon Magnum. It's about the only one left.
Yeah.
Magnum PI. Oh, that was a show. That was a TV show years and years ago. All right, it's very sweet. White Magnum. Caramel Magnum, Azio Head gets it!
Nice. Yeah, we just started getting that brand over here.
Say that again, sorry.
We just started getting that brand over here.
Ah, okay. I did wonder about that. And it's massive over here, isn't it, Magnums? There are, yeah. That and Cornettos.
Bonus question.
Oh, bonus question. I'd forgotten about the bonus question. Off we go with the bonus.
What's the second best ice lolly?
Oh dear. I've forgotten that one. Okay, the
Oh,
second,
thank-
and I can tell you actually, it hasn't been mentioned yet. So sorry, do carry on.
Chocolate Magnum?
No, it's not a Magnum.
Oh.
And to be honest, I don't know. We should have thought about the fact that you were in the US here, because they're very food and brand oriented questions. This is the last one that you might have a problem with, though, to be honest. Dad's caramel magnum is always nicer than anyone else's caramel magnum. This is true. Feast is a good guess, actually. It's not
What's
a feast. It's like a magnum. I think it must be like a magnum made by a different company. I mean, if anyone gets the
Popsicles.
flavour, would be good. I mean, I think the flavour is this music kind of, not the music that's on now, this music. Is kind of reminiscent of the flavour.
Oh yeah.
Good clue that was.
Oh.
Dun, 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 dun.
Mama got it.
Who did?
Acid burn.
Acid burn again? Mango. It was indeed a mango, and it was
It's a tropical Solero.
a tropical,
tastes like
but it is
mango.
mango fundamentally. We'll give you that.
That is
Tropical
my
Solero.
My wife is beating me.
She got you should have a whispering in the background. That's what Pierre the Acid Clown did. Although he wasn't that subtle, actually. She was basically sitting next to him going, "It's a tropical magnum. Tropical magnum." All right, so my favourite question of all. Stand by, another excuse to play this.
What's the worst food in the world?
Brussels sprouts,
Oh, no. Close.
broccoli,
No. Can I have one more guess?
artichoke.
No! Oh. Okay, we're watching the chat. Snails, cauliflower, dog food, pineapple on a pizza, sprouts,
Human
cucumber,
food, not
liver,
food for
wasabi, baked beans, beetroot. Oh, man, I thought this would be easy.
Yeah.
It's obvious. Wow. Zucchini. Native vs. that would win. What did native? Beetroot. Yeah, well,
Broccoli, that's one of the best
it's
foods in the
much
world.
more common. Yeah, broccoli is lovely. And as are cucumbers. Kale, spinach, asparagus, bacon, mango. I can't believe.
Yes, I got
Peas, Martin Taylor.
Oh.
Epic. Well done. Well done indeed. Well
Two more
done.
questions.
I would do the one more because there was one was a bonus if we got stuck. Oh, actually, no, that's good. We can do that one. So this is a very hard one. The others have been fairly lightweight, I guess.
What is my Nan Nan's nickname?
Ooh. Oh.
Okay, so to get this, you need to get her name, and then it rhymes with her name. So, yeah, it's kind of guess my Nan Nan's first name is the first bit of
It
that
was gonna
question.
be her name, and then we thought of a better one.
Yeah. All right, close to Adamski with porridge, but no, Nan Nan is not her real name, funnily enough, synthetic. She
Nan,
wasn't,
Nan,
she wasn't
Nan.
born to be a Nan Nan.
Yeah, that's.
This is going to be hard, isn't it? I mean, we'll give it a couple of minutes because it's the questions
Should I
used
say
to be
the
like this.
beginning letter?
Yes.
It begins with an H.
And this is a normal name.
Helen.
Yes, well done. So the first word is Helen, and you'll get a point for that. So that brings you up to 2 points, which is a very respectable score, Dustin. That's epic.
Melon.
Yes!
Yes! All
Back to
right.
the leader.
You are the leader with 3 points. You get that. And Inky got it as well. Helen Mellon.
If you get the last question, you're completely in the lead.
Totally.
Wow.
Totally. Wow. And you're lucky because we weren't going to have an extra question. So you're really lucky.
But this is one of the joke questions.
Yes, it's so new. I didn't even put it as a little banner underneath. So let's see. Oh, gosh. Right. Eyes down. This is going to be amazing.
How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh?
8.
No.
Oh, so sorry. I don't think we can give you another go on that because there's so much at stake. But joint leader gets you, a lot of kudos. Okay, let's whiz back to the chat. I'm sure 8. Oh my word! I would have thought this one was easy. Everyone's saying 8, 5, 6. Wagyu saying they can't laugh. It's not the case, I'm afraid.
I got it!
Who got it? Oh, Martin.
No, before.
Oh, before. Tim Pilgrim. Tim Pilgrim got it just before Martin Matthews, according to one. It's tentacles. Tentacles. I think we finished him up. It's a good job your wife's there.
I ever think the studio's locked, I might die in here.
Stretcher for Dustin, please. Oh my word! A groan, says Sasquatch. Yeah, it was a dad joke, I know, but
yeah.
it was okay. Oh man!
Oh wow!
My gosh, it's 10 past 8 already. Oh, this has been absolutely fantastic. It'd be good if you fancy coming on and chatting. And chatting about all things dub, perhaps after the terrible news of today. That would be great. If we'll put together a memorial stream with some people on it, I think would be good because it's such a sad moment. But without wishing to end on an absolute downer, thank you so much for coming on. It's been just brilliant.
I had a blast, man. That was amazing fun. Really, really cool.
Let me just flag up all your links again because everyone needs to pop off and follow you on the Instagram. Left is Not Right Music. Check that out, and also on the website isnotright.com if you need mentoring or all sorts of stuff. Or I'm sure if you just want to say hello and say what you're up to.
Hit me up. There's a forum and whatever else. Instagram,
perfect.
Facebook,
Absolutely
whatever.
perfect. Really, 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 really good fun. So thank you very much indeed. Loullamae's gone. I've just gone off probably to tell Mummy about how amazing the whole thing was.
That was fun.
Thank you very much indeed. Thanks to everyone in the chat. I haven't mentioned anything about the stuff that I do or whatever. If you want to just check out mrwiggly.co.uk, there's links there to donate to Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital on behalf of the stream. If you do fancy giving us a couple of quid, it goes straight to charity, Loullamae's charity, so check out that. If you haven't already seen the incinerator, which is a plugin that I do, please go and check that out as well. That's kind of cool. Let's stick your audio through my metal incinerator, which is behind me. There's only half of me, so I better flick that into that view now. Thanks to everybody. It's been a very busy stream. Lots of people in the chat, which has been marvelous. Share and tell everyone if you've enjoyed it, if other people want to come and watch it, and please do leave a like below the video. Close that live chat briefly if you're on a mobile, and click the thumbs up button and follow if you haven't followed already. All that lovely stuff. And we will see you same time next week for some more of the same. So thanks very much indeed, and bye from both of us.
Urbanist connect so with the earth pipe, link up the harmonize, left the termite, but beyond obsolete blessings a birthright. We live a language a lot more in us all worldwide. Cosmic love energy a go herbicide free, organically is there worthwhile. Watch the way one of you take term points in terms of definitions and some termites. Yes, I check the eye. One side is defined by one side the other. I.e. I am an ideas man. I assign too much of the qualities of my child. Who's we if I'm talking like this to me?